We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Boxingego unpack. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Caleb Plant says he's down to fight who? Jermall Charlo. Yeah, keep running your mouth. Lines only. We're going to talk about that in this video. We unpack. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Listen, make sure you guys smash the like button. This is what I do. Takes a quick second to throw a like on the video. You don't know how much that encourages the video when you guys click on that. Now, I'm back with my original segment, Unpack. We unpack, coming to you live. Caleb Plant, link in the description. Just did a recent interview. I'm not going to go over the quotes verbatim, but you guys are welcome to click the link to go to the video and hear verbatim, rest in peace of neighborhood. You know, and hear what Caleb Plant had to say. I just want to give some of my thoughts. Oh, they got Biggie, Lil C's, and Busy Bone. And I want to give you my thoughts. So basically, you heard in this interview, Caleb Plant call out or suggest that he likes to fight or loves to fight with Jermall Charlo of Lions Only Houston fame, Houston, Texas's own. Now, Caleb Plant is coming off of a direct loss to Canelo Alvarez. I thought it was a fun fight. I think if we're being honest, Caleb Plant pushed Canelo further and harder than any of the guys that he's fought at super middleweight, you know, super middleweight. See, a lot of people, I'm just going to be real. A lot of people are enamored with Canelo Alvarez and, you know, he became undisputed, which he did, but there's also some definite politics there. And at the end of the day, I think Caleb Plant definitely was the guy to push Canelo the hardest. Fights like Caleb Smith, Rocky Fielding were pretty one-sided. Billy Joe Saunders did maybe a little bit better, but I still had Canelo winning. Caleb Plant is the real fight. And I don't even bring up average Pilgrim Yildirim or whatever, because that was one-way traffic all the way. Caleb Plant actually made it a good fight. So he's coming off a loss. He's chilling, made a lot of money in that particular fight. And he was asked about his future and what he's doing with his whopping salary he got to fight Canelo, etc. And he did mention that he wants to fight Jermall Charlo. He would love that fight. He says he can envision, you know, Caleb was smooth in the interview. He's always a good interview, and he was pretty smooth. He says he can envision his hand being raised. And the reporter asked, hey, do you think this is a great pay-per-view? And he says, you know, I don't know. I don't care about all that. I just like the fight. I think it's an amazing fight. Let's go book it. At the end of the day, I see my hand being raised. So I want to give you my thoughts on that particular fight. I agree with Caleb Plant. That would be an amazing fight. Now, Jermall Charlo is at 160 currently. I think there are a few fights left for him, but if he cannot get those, then maybe look in the direction of 168 for a guy like Caleb Plant. I think that would be an amazing fight. You know, I do think there's some fights at 160 that maybe are feasible. It's up to Jermall Charlo and his team to see if they can try to get it. I want to see Triple G and Jermall Charlo at 160, but Triple G hasn't fought once this whole year. And it's funny that old media is not talking about this. I seem to be the only one mentioning the inactivity of Triple G. Keep in mind when Triple G was with HBO and HBO was priming Triple G heavily and saying he was pound for pound #1 and all these different things. He was fighting in his peak of that time. You know, he was fighting maybe 3-4 times a year. And in 2021, he's fighting 0 times. I guess he was supposed to fight in Japan. And with the new variants being discovered, the Japanese borders in Japan, they're like, nah, we're not accepting visitors and all that. So it's becoming harder to travel to certain places if you're an outsider, if you're not from there. And it looks like his fight for New Year's Eve is now being pushed back or canceled or whatever they're doing with it. So it's really off-putting that Triple G hasn't fought in all of 2021. And I seem to be the only one talking about it. So I don't know how realistic that will be for Jermall Charlo to get that fight. Because for one, Jermall Charlo's been calling out, hey, no, guys, hey, Max, everybody, nothing posh, right? He's been calling him out and the fight hasn't happened. And then on top of that, if he does fight Ryota Murata and it's getting postponed, then that further pushes it back. So it's just never good in boxing to wait for one guy and, you know, stall out your career in doing so, like while you're waiting for somebody else to get their life together or whatever the situation is. So I think Jermall Charlo would be better suited keeping that activity up. So I don't know. I think Jermall Charlo size-wise, I've stood next to Caleb Plant, stood next to Jermall Charlo. He definitely has the frame where he could move up to 168 because he's a big dude. You know, he's a big dude at 160. He has the height where he could easily move up to 168 if he wants to. That's up to him, because again, I know people have entertained Jermall Charlo possibly fighting David Benavidez. Look like David Benavidez is ordered to fight against David Lemieux, and hopefully Canelo tries to fight the winner of that particular fight. So in the interim, Caleb Plant versus Jermall Charlo could be an amazing fight. But again, I don't know, because Jermall Charlo has a belt at 160 and he's a champion there. So does he want to just give all that up and move up to another division? You know, that's kind of on him, because you have Carlos Adames, who just fought a mutual opponent that Jermall Charlo had recently beaten, and that's Sergey Deryevchenko. He fought on the Gervonta Davis Isaac Pitbull Cruz card. And I thought Carlos Adames was really impressive. You know, I have seen Carlos Adames fight before, and I really wasn't so impressed with him. But then when he fought Deryevchenko, I was like, okay, I don't know. He put it, maybe styles make fights or whatever. Maybe he's been working in the gym, but he kind of put it all together and he looked real good in that fight. Pause. So Carlos Adames and Jermall Charlo is a banger. And that's at 160. So I don't know for a fact that the Caleb Plant fight will or can happen, but I love it. I think it's an amazing stylistic match. I think the Charlos are very, for both of them. You know, you got Jermell fighting Brian Castano in a rematch. A lot of y'all hated and said Jermall Charlo lost the last fight. And I'm not saying you're hating if you thought he lost, but a lot of the haters said that Jermell Charlo would be too afraid to fight Castano, and he took it, and he's taking it in his own hometown. So, you know, hometown hijinks, hometown pressure, that shows you that the Charlo brothers, you know, in this case, Jermell Charlo, it shows you he's a dog, because if he was afraid about losing or even put that thought in his mind, why would he even want to take a fight like that, which was proven to be a dangerous fight, because they hurt each other and pushed each other to the brink, and it ended in a draw. And Jermell finna fight him in his hometown in a rematch. So you got to give it up for that. Listen, on my channel, I give credit where credit's due. Jermall Charlo, as far as he's concerned, his very last fight, very tough, very gritty and durable Montiel. I don't know what Montiel was made of that night, but he was getting melted. And Jermall Charlo has put other guys to sleep with similar shots and or badly buzzed him or hurt him or something. I remember when he fought Dennis Hogan, who really beat Jaime Munguia, and Jaime Munguia never rematched him because he knew he lost, right? In that particular fight, when Jermall Charlo fought Jaime Munguia's leftovers or ex-opponent Dennis Hogan, you know, it was a way different fight. He had him doing somersaults and punching him. He was doing cartwheels and all types of things when he was getting hit. And then we all know the J-Rock fight at 154. That was a great signature win. Deryevchenko's eyes look crazy. You know, for whatever reason, Montiel was able to take those same shots that Hugo Centeno Jr. and other people in the past hadn't been able to take. So credit to him. He's tough. You know, I said this before, and I'm the best at this boxing talk, so I'm gonna say it again. The Gervonta Davis versus Isaac Cruz, the Pitbull fight, reminded me a lot of Jermall Charlo versus Fernando. I forgot his first name. I think it's Fernando Montiel. No, I think that's it. No, Montiel's that's his cousin or something. But anyway, whatever. Montiel. Tank versus Pitbull was similar. There were some similarities there to Jermall Charlo when he fought against Montiel recently, because one, you had a black African-American fighter and they were in there. There's a picture, boom, and they were hitting their opponent, and both opponents happened to be from Mexico, Montiel and Cruz, and they were hitting them with crazy shots that, as known punchers, that normally puts guys out, and their opponents were just ready, you know what I mean, and coming and gritty and biting down on their mouthpiece, and they kept coming. So credit to them. Slightly different style. I'm not saying Montiel fights exactly like Isaac Cruz, because they do have their own independent style, but just the tonality of the fight. And then it got to a point where Jermall Charlo injured his hand trying to keep this guy off of him, and also hitting his hard head with back-to-back shots nonstop, and the guy with relentless pressure. And, you know, Jermall even started to get a little bit tired at points, you know, and that was the same thing. You look at Gervonta Davis, and Gervonta Davis hurt his hand on his opponent, Isaac Cruz, hard head, just punching him and battering him with hard shots, and the guy just wouldn't go anywhere. So sometimes boxing's like that. You got to take sometimes it's not always going to be a pretty win. You got to just take the win how they come. And the great thing about win is when you win, you can always go back and look at tape and sharpen up and tweak this, or, oh, if I would have did this, or in this round I should have did this, or I need to put some more miles in. As long as you get that dub and you get that W, then that's most important, because you can fine tune the rest later. So Jermall Charlo's coming off a very tough fight. Caleb Plant pretty much said this in his interview. He said he did not actually watch the fight, but he's seen the highlights and basically got an overview from it. And he decided that from what he had seen, it was a good fight and a tough fight, and he was challenged. And Caleb Plant is saying in the end, he would love to fight Jermall Charlo. I think that's a banger, man. I think there's many fights at 168 that I would love to see Jermall Charlo in, if he does move up to 168. Clearly, people are going to think about, at some point, David Benavidez and Jermall Charlo. I think a great introduction to the division would be a tricky style like Caleb Plant. Caleb Plant gave Canelo some good rounds, some competitive rounds. But, you know, it'd be interesting to see, because some people didn't think Caleb Plant was able to hurt Canelo enough. So if he couldn't discourage Canelo enough, will Caleb Plant be able to outbox Jermall Charlo moving up? Different puzzle, different fight. I love it. I think it's an amazing fight. I think you could definitely put it on pay-per-view. You know, Jermall has that star quality, and Caleb Plant's just coming off pay-per-view and making 10 million. So, you know, both fighters, they're probably commanding crazy paychecks. So I don't know. I don't know what PBC, Premier Boxing Champions, has in store for both of them, but I know as a paying customer, I would love to see it. I think Jermall Charlo, he's money. He's a boxer puncher, right? That's kind of his style. He's very aggressive, but quiet as kept. A lot of people don't always point it out, but he'd be doing some slick stuff in there and be on his defense, and he's just a complete fighter. And I think the same thing with Caleb Plant. Canelo's a thinker and a boxer puncher himself, and he had Canelo thinking, and Canelo even gave him some props after, even despite the bad blood, like, nah, you a good fighter, you know what I mean? Keep your head up. So it just shows you what type of person Caleb Plant is. He got knocked out in his last fight, and he ready to fight top names still, and I expect nothing less than Caleb Plant. At this point, former champion, lost his belt to Canelo. Canelo moves on to fight some random African or whatever he's doing. So I can't wait to see what 2022 has in store for us all. I think Caleb Plant, based on how he fought, he deserves big names, and if they can get that fight, I would love to see it. The other thing that's very interesting is, I don't know this, but I've been around both fighters at different, media days and stuff like that. And I think the personalities of Caleb Plant and Jermall Charlo could conflict to the point where it makes for great TV. Because I think, one person would do an interview and then one person heard what the other person said. And I think there'll be that kind of chemistry there. So I think it'll be a good buildup. I would love to see like an all access type of behind the scenes and the epilogues for a fight like that. Caleb Plant, he don't really hold back. He gave Canelo a piece of his mind, said was on his mind at all times. And we know Jermall Charlo and Jermell Charlo, they're outspoken. They go say whatever they want. So I would love it. Let me know what you guys think. Is it a fight you want to see? Is there a better fight? Let me know if I missed anything in this video. We unpack, coming to you live. And I'm out. The future is now. The Hibernation 5s by Kenichi Bear. Hybrid gaming and lifestyle headphones. Out of the box, you can connect to any console or PC. Bluetooth ready with a low latency USB adapter, color RGB, and extreme bass mode. The Hibernation 5s adjust to you. Whether you need a gaming, travel, gym, or lifestyle headphones, the Hibernations got you covered. The new Hibernation 5s, link in the description. Customize the way you hear the world. Welcome to the nation. Are you tired of your YouTube videos not getting any views? Well, consider TubeBuddy. I've used TubeBuddy for years to scale up my YouTube channel. Now we're sitting over 200,000 subscribers. TubeBuddy is a browser extension that offers a ton of built-in productivity and time-saving services to take your channel to the next level. Use my link in the description to get started with TubeBuddy and level up your channel faster. We working.